Let's talk about the teacher strike, because in Arizona, because I showed you before, Michael Moore talked about the West Virginia teacher strike, and it was super successful and only took 9 days. And they won big, meaning they got education funded instead of funding a war or giving a tax break to a coal company. They decided to fund education in West Virginia. And Michael Moore was on a town hall with Bernie Sanders, and he was lamenting the lack of coverage about the West Virginia teacher strike.
When Michael Moore was highlighting that, he talked about how I believe the union is made up of 74% of women. And I just want to add additionally that this union wasn't just trying to protect their interests, their own interests as teachers, but they wanted the clerical staff to be supported and other government agencies. So it's like this one union, teachers union, is taking on a lot of people right now on behalf of other members, or non-members rather.
And one thing that I'm really happy about is that the unions are actually fighting for education, not just their own pay. So in many instances, the state is trying to pay off the union by saying, we'll give you raises, go away. And the union is saying that's not good enough. We don't want just raises. We want the infrastructure to be there for children so that we can have a proper educational framework in place. So they want funding for facilities, for books, and other educational infrastructure that's necessary for a vibrant and an effective educational process. So I like it. I love it that the teachers are not just taking their own money and just going away.
Come on, don't you want teachers who are paid well? Don't you want that this particular profession attracts professionals? And that, really, I think teachers should be making six figures. The amount of effort that it takes to instruct a class and to procure units of study that are not only engaging but relevant to a student's life, it's hard, it's challenging. And that these teachers who taught for 13 years in West Virginia were only making under $40,000 a year. That's awful. 13 years in service for public education. So I walk with teachers, I support teachers, and I support unions because they're there to protect the workers.
So here's what Michael Moore had to say about the West Virginia teacher strike.
This is a union. This union brought down the state apparatus at 75% women in this union. And they rose up and Bernie, I didn't see hardly anything in the corporate media about this on any of the networks, even some of the networks that we watch were, Russia, turn the channel, Russia. And I'm not saying it's not important.
You thought about Stormy Daniels.
Yeah, okay. Stormy Daniels and Don Jr. and, whoever else, all the shiny keys to distract us. That's what goes on in the media. All the other things that they talk about, and we should be seeing this. This we should see. We should know about the West Virginia teacher strike and the victory. What inspiration that would be around the country if you saw people in West Virginia do this, who haven't had a strike like this in forever. And they don't show this, Bernie, because what would happen if they did?
Okay, so what would happen if they did? Well, I'm going to show you what's been happening. Defiant no more. Arizona Governor bends to teachers' demand. So that's what is going to happen now. So it's catching on. So it went from West Virginia and it went to Kentucky, Oklahoma, and now it's in Arizona. These are all red states. These are unions breaking the back of their right-wing legislators because they have the truth on their side. We need to fund education, okay? So let's just break it down very briefly what's going on in Arizona. As recently as Tuesday, a defiant Arizona governor refused to meet with now this is last Tuesday, teachers threatening to strike over low pay and said he was sticking with a 1% raise proposal. Pretty ballsy, huh? Pretty ballsy. But by Thursday, Republican Doug Ducey managed to scrape $274 million from the cash-starved state's coffers to offer a 9% wage hike starting this fall, and he's following that with a 5% more each in 2019 and 2020 school years. But it's kind of amazing how He went from no, screw you, 1%, that's it, to all of a sudden, look at that, a 10% raise. Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah, and for those who think that's an excessive raise, it's only because they had cut teachers' pay
by $1 billion.
Yeah, so now it's a bit of a catch up plus a little bit of a modest normal raise, not a large raise.
Right, at all.
Yeah.
Oh, the teachers are really
Raking
they're
in.
raking it in. Those money grubbers, right? So here we go. He's also counting the 1% raise the legislator approved for the current school to call it a 20% overall raise. It's amazing what a threatened teacher strike in an election year can get the Republicans to do, said Democratic Representative Rebecca Rios. I'm impressed. Joe Thomas, president of the Arizona Education Association, warned against relying on promises. Don't believe anything besides what they put in the budget, he said. A legislature that says they're going to give us a 5% raise in a budget a year away, well, they might as well promise every kindergarten teacher a pony. So Ducey's plan does not include pay raises for others, including school counselors, custodians, and lunchroom workers. And Steph, this is what they were holding out for in Oklahoma, right? They were like, no, it's everybody else. And you also have to give money to our books, and you have to give money for air conditioning, and you have to give money to the cafeteria staff and the janitor. So the teachers were the ones leading the way on this. So isn't it something that it takes a group of majority women to show grit and strength and stand up for what's right? If you enjoyed this clip of Aggressive Progressives, you know there's a 90-minute show waiting for you at the Young Turks Network. Go to tytnetwork.com/join to see all our content.